back to Joy of the Hang. I'm your host, Sharon Stevenson, and we're welcoming back a guest that we had last year, Christina Ordonez, and I haven't gotten any better at rolling my R's. I know. I promised I'd practice last year, and it just hasn't happened.
Some things just aren't priorities, and that's okay.
Thank you for that, because, I'm not good at it. So pronounce your name for me the correct way.
Christina Ordonez.
See, I'm so jealous that I can't do that. My daughter does it pretty well because I put her in Spanish when she was in, even before kindergarten, like
like the preschool.
Yeah. So she was like 3 years old.
Perfect. That's a great time for them to learn the language.
And I started learning, I took Latin in high school, which was completely useless.
But also very hard.
Hard, but you don't speak that language.
Yeah.
So
it is a basis of a lot of languages, though.
It is. And the thing I loved about it was I really was into Greek mythology for a minute.
Ooh, that's cool.
So it was really I actually became, I'm going to geek out for a minute. I was actually the president of my Latin club.
I love it.
I know. Can you believe that? So, but anyway, I didn't go on to take a spoken language till college, and I took French.
Okay.
And I have to tell you, that was terrible too. By French 4, you're going to love this. By French 4. Now, I know you all think I'm intelligent because I have a daughter in Harvard, and I am. However,
you are very intelligent. You just said you're the president of the Latin. You're very intelligent.
But language is just not my strong point. And so by French 4, I am literally writing to my professor because I'm going into my final with a very low grade. Please, I wrote on the bottom of it, please pass me, because neither one of us want to see each other again next year. Let's be honest. And I think he did. He just gave me a passing grade so I could get out of it. But yeah.
Effort counts too,
Thank God. So that was the end. I'm like, I'm not even going to try with language because obviously it's not, I struggle with English sometimes. So I think I'll just,
don't we all?
I know, with all the jargon and that stuff. Anyway, welcome back. Great to see you again. Now, last time you were here, we talked about being a corporate yogi.
Yeah.
And how yoga kind of changed your life a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Because you were in corporate burnout.
Yes, for sure.
Mode. And this time, you are pregnant.
I am, yeah.
And we're going to talk about that journey because you came to being pregnant through IVF.
Yes, through IVF.
And so IVF is in vitro fertilization. So why don't you tell our listeners why you took that path and what it's been like for you?
Yes. I was growing up in my 20s, I was very career focused and didn't think I wanted a family. By my early 30s, I started to say, maybe I should have some more serious thoughts about this, because I didn't want to just all of a sudden be 40 or 45 and be like, I just kind of made one assumption and never thought about it again. And so it took a couple of years for me and my husband to get on the same page. By 36, we realized that we did want to have kids and started, I don't know if it's trying or just started letting things go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No birth control, that type of thing. And then got really serious about a year later. Once it had been about 6 months, knowing that we had already spent a year and a half plus of no goalie, no anything, we were like, okay, this might be time to at least investigate and see what's going on. So we went to my OB, we did some preliminary tests, and through that, they pretty much immediately recommend you to an IVF clinic. When I started this journey, I never thought I would do IVF. I thought I'd be one of those people that's like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm really grateful for my OB because she was like, don't hold yourself to things. Like, as you start processes, things can change. And she was right. As I progressed, it became more important to me to have a kid and to have this baby. And so we ultimately kind of decided to go that route and do it full shebang.
So you said you're 37?
I am now 39.
39.
Yeah. So it took a while. I think that's, we'll talk about it more, but I think that's one of the things I urge, especially my later 30 friends, is if they're having problems, to go into IVF right away. Not that they have to go to IVF, but go to a fertility clinic right away, because these things take a lot longer than you think they will.
Right. And so I had a similar experience. So I will share mine as well. So this is good that we're talking about this. I was a little bit younger, but I do want to go back a little bit. So when you say you're having problems, so both the man and the woman get tested, correct?
Correct.
So you're both kind of tested to see where your levels are in terms of, for the male, it would be their sperm production
And motility.
and
Yeah.
motility. And for the female, it's egg production, right?
Egg production, some level of egg quality, but I don't know how much they can really test it. But yeah.
Yeah. So then they kind of determine which partner maybe is needing, how does it work?
I would say for the most part, so they're going to do two. The men get much less testing than the females do. And if the men's numbers are somewhat normal, they're pretty much put to the side. There is a small chance that they're not normal, even though they present normal, that can happen. But for the most part,
and normal means, let's talk about the term normal though. Normal for a male means they are producing enough sperm and there's enough motility in it in which to conceive.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Those are the two factors that they test for men. I don't even know how many factors they tested for me. A lot.
Yeah.
And then women, they tend to focus on. And I think it's because, look, both are very important. And I have friends that had male fertility issues, and the initial test brought those out right away. But I think for the most part, they focus on female egg quality, the female side of things, because that tends to be where it goes.
We stop producing more eggs as we start to age.
It's not even that we stop producing more eggs, it's that the quality of our eggs go down. Okay. So we're producing the same, we've had the same number of eggs in our body this whole time. It's actually really cool. I think it's around 16 weeks of fetus development that if it's a girl, they develop their eggs. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I did not know that.
And you have a set number of eggs for your whole life. It's that the quality of those eggs go down as we age.
I did not know that. Okay, so I just learned something. So did you, before IVF, did you start doing I remember having to take the ovulation test so I'd know exactly when I was ovulating.
Yeah.
And then put my legs up over my head and stay there for, all the tricks.
I did all the tricks
to try to okay, honey, it's time. It's
very sexy, right? You're like, oh, peak time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna lie here.
Color. Yeah. No. So you did all that?
I did all of that. Yeah. Before I went to the OB and started doing the fertility. Yeah. At first, it was just kind of, we'll see what happens, and then it was okay, let's get more serious.
Let's get more intentional about it.
Yeah, let's get more intentional.
And
then it was okay, let's start taking the tests and see what's going on.
So I remember going through a little bit of depression and a little bit of guilt because I felt like first of all, getting pregnant to me was it should be the most natural thing in the world that a woman should be able to do. And my body isn't responding and I'm not able to give you a child. I had all of this guilt around the fact that I couldn't do what all my friends were doing naturally. Did you have that same? Did you struggle at all?
Yeah. I mean, I think first of all, it's completely normal. And there's I don't know if I felt as much guilt as I did shame, to your point of the body, not this thing that you think you should be able to do, all of a sudden not being able to do it. I kept feeling what's wrong with me? Especially when my husband's test came back really strong. It's you're wow, he's really good. And I was
gee, thanks.
I'm okay, this is on me then. And so there was a lot of, not shame about going through the process, but shame about what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my body? Why am I struggling with this? What should be, to your point, a very natural process that all women are, meant to go through if they choose. They don't have to choose, but if they want to.
And some of my friends are more fertile than others. And I'm man, you're pregnant every year. And I can't even get one.
Yeah,
right.
For sure. And that I think that was a hard part too, is I'm seeing, it was years of going through this and I'm watching all of my friends get pregnant. At first, you're okay, yay, I'm so happy for you. I'm coming up soon. And then after a while, it starts to get really hard to even hear it. I had to flip the script in my mind to say every time somebody told me they were pregnant, it meant it was closer to me, because I was really struggling with every time somebody told me they were pregnant. I got really sad.
Right.
And I didn't want to be sad for my friends.
Exactly.
Of course I'm super happy for them, but it was just, it was a trigger of, oh, it's still not my time. And that was hard to deal with.
But now's your time.
Now's my time.
So that's exciting. So take us through, again, I went through a little bit of the IVF process. So take us through the process. So you get your initial tests. He's had his, he's rocking, he's good. And you're damn, I gotta look at myself. So you talked about several tests that women have to go through. Give me an example of what you had to go through.
Okay, so I don't remember all the names, but you'll do a MRI of your uterus and they'll shoot ink into the uterus. It's to see if your fallopian tubes are open. It's a really interesting test because it's diagnostic, but it's also a treatment because if your fallopian tubes are closed, it opens them up. So like if that's something you have, it's kind of interesting. Like, and that's somewhat common that women get this test and then they get pregnant afterwards. One of their fallopian tubes was blocked.
Yeah.
So that's one of the initial tests you'll take. You'll take a saline ultrasound, a lot of blood tests, and then they kind of go through your numbers and see what happens. For me, I never had a exact diagnosis. It was just, probably age, unexplained infertility. And I think that's one of the hardest parts about this process for so many women is that there's a lot we know like PCOS or endometriosis that impacts fertility, but there are no great ways to test for those things. So it's all very circumstantial of like, do you have these symptoms or do you not have these symptoms? Which, is, I hope as women, as research develops, we start to have more understanding where we can have more basic tests for those things. Because I think that would help so many people.
You mean earlier on?
Yeah, like there's just nothing like for endometriosis, which I may or may not have. That was one of the diagnosis levels we were going through. Like the only way to diagnose it is to have laparoscopy surgery. And that's, doctors don't want, for good reason,
right?
Don't want to do that. But there's no, so it's all kind of, well, you have these symptoms, maybe it's this, but we don't really know.
Yeah.
And that's to understand because everything you want to manage differently.
Right. So IVF, so I had Clomid. That's where I started. Did you start with that or did you go directly to taking the sperm and then fertilizing the egg?
Started with variation of Clomid called letrozole.
Okay.
So I did that for 3 or 4 months.
Okay, let's explain what that is before we move forward because I know I just threw that out there and probably a lot of our listeners don't know what Clomid is. So what that was supposed to do for me, now this is a long time ago,
they still use Clomid.
Okay, because my kids are now 28 and 24. So this was 30 years ago. And basically, as if I recall, it was supposed to increase egg production, right?
Yeah.
To increase the likelihood of the sperm.
Correct.
Fertilizing the egg in a somewhat natural way without me having to go to the harvesting stage. Is that
exactly
how you understand it? Okay.
Yep.
And I think I did that for a few months. So
I think it's a typical first step for most people because it's a pill. You take it a couple of, I think you take 2 pills a day for 6 days or 5 days and then and then you're done and you see what happens. So that was the first thing. I did that for a few months. And then my second option, we did IUI. I can't remember what that actually stands for, but I call it the turkey baster because that's really what it is. So they they try to time the sperm to the egg. So you'll take your Clomid or your letrozole to increase your egg production. They're monitoring you and your uterus and monitoring your follicles to say how advanced are they, when will they drop, and then you're actually taking a drug to stimulate your egg dropping within 24 hours. They're taking his sperm, they're spinning it up so that it's like even more clean and even more quality.
Right.
And they take a little catheter and just put the sperm into your uterus. So it's like this idea of, hey, maybe they just aren't swimming.
Right.
So we'll meet them.
Yeah.
Meet them there. Again,
we'll introduce them to each other.
Right there.
See if they.
So like even more timed than it's nice because it's pretty low, low in terms of invasiveness, but it also has a lower percentage chance. I think it's something like 10%. So it depends on where you are in your journey, how many times you want to do that. I would say many couples will go 4+ because of my age. We did 2 rounds and decided that was enough for us and that it was probably time to go more the IVF route and do the full kit and caboodle.
Okay. And the full kit and caboodle is what? So he is, I guess, depositing his sperm, right?
Yeah.
So you get a collection of that. And then what happens? How do they actually fertilize you?
So it's kind of, there's 2 elements to IVF. The first and the most invasive is the egg retrieval. And so again, they'll put you on a Clomid or a letrozole. They're stimulating egg production. They want to maximize the amount of eggs that they can get from this surgery. They're monitoring you. Day 1 is the first day of your period. From day 3 to day 14, you are taking injectables to stimulate growth. You're taking injectables to stop the eggs from dropping. So, everyone has a unique experience. For me personally, it wasn't terrible. Let's call it, I don't know, 3 or 4 shots a day. It is a lot of hormones in your body. I didn't struggle too much with the hormone changes, but it's very common for women to struggle with the hormone changes. So if you did, that's common and that's normal.
Right. Yeah.
So you're kind of doing that for about 2 weeks, and then they schedule you for your surgery. Again, you'll have a trigger shot so that the eggs know it's time to drop, because they've kind of been drugging you up for them to not, to get them as big as possible. Surgery lasts about an hour. It's really not too long. They will put you out. It's not total anesthesia, but it's enough that you're asleep. And
so they go in, they're harvesting your egg now.
Yeah.
It's dropped. They're harvesting the egg. They've already harvested the sperm.
Yep.
And now they're going to put it in a petri dish and see if they
match.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So they'll take my eggs and they'll know right away you had this many eggs. And there could be that I had 10 eggs, but only 5 of them were fully
that they were viable.
Yeah, they were large enough that they would make an embryo. Immediately, at least at my clinic, everything's right in the same building. Like immediately those eggs get passed to the scientists who, while I was in surgery, my husband was doing his stuff, and they immediately start to make the embryos. By day 3, they'll tell you, okay, here's how many embryos are left based on your eggs and the sperm. And then by day 5, here's how many are left, because there's naturally attrition throughout the process.
So how many were?
So for me, it was really interesting. I had to do 2 rounds of egg retrieval. My first round, I would say, is largely unsuccessful. I had retrieved 4 eggs, and because it was so little, we ended up with 4 embryos, but they were all day 3, which isn't a great, it's not that it's not viable, but you have a higher percentage chance of success with day 5 or beyond. In the clinic, because they don't want to risk you going through the surgery and not having anything. Once you have like under 4, they say, hey, well, we'll stop at day 3. I did a second round in 8, probably about 4 months later. And that one was, again, not very successful in terms of number of eggs. I ended up with 6 eggs harvested, but then it made 4 eggs to stage to day 5. And then I got those PGT, which is genetically tested. And I had 2 that made it genetically tested normal, which from a percentage wise was really high. Most people will get 10, let's say they'll get 10 to 15 eggs. They'll end up with maybe 6 that go to 5, and they'll end up with only 1 or 2 that end up PGT normal.
I think you lost me a little bit.
It's a lot. Yeah,
it is a lot. No, I think so. I'm just a little confused with the day 3 and the day 5.
Yeah.
So can you just clarify that a little bit?
Yeah. So there's kind of 2 stages that you're clearing. They have to at least survive to day 3 to be a viable embryo to be implanted.
Okay.
It depends on your provider. My provider, because you go through the expense and all of the heartache of harvesting, if you had under a certain number of embryos at day 3, they just freeze them at day 3. They don't let them continue to develop, in hopes that one of those would still be successful. Day 5 to day 6 is where you have a higher success chance. It's also where you can get it genetically tested, but more die off.
Okay, so back up. So the first time you had it harvested, they made it to day 3, but you decided not to use it. They might have still made it to day 5.
They might have still made it to day 5. We don't know.
Okay. So why did you decide to?
It was their protocol.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they just decided it.
They just decided, yeah.
Okay. So then you did it again. And out of the 6 you were able to retrieve eggs, you got 2 that were genetically tested and viable. So were they both implanted?
No. So nowadays, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. I can't tell you the number of times people are like, you sure there's only 1 in there? Like, there's only 1. These days, it's not very common to do multiples.
Okay.
Because there's so much science behind it.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that there's not miracles and that, everything, but they can look at the PGT tested. So that means it's genetically perfect.
So they can do all of these tests while they're still in a lab state?
Yeah.
This
And
is fascinating.
and
to
even
me.
that PGD test can tell you what the gender is. So people can pick
You're kidding me.
their gender if they want.
Out of those two, if you had a boy and a girl, you could pick your
You can
gender.
pick which one. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They
So did
don't.
you know, or did
We asked them to keep it blind. I still don't know what the gender of this baby is.
I like that? Actually. Okay, so you don't know what you're having. So okay, so how do you decide if you've got two that are
You go by the highest quality. So
okay?
once these are genetically normal, then there's like these grades, double A, AB, double B. I can't remember what they all mean, but it's all around the quality of the embryo. So the highest, like a euploid day 5 double A has like something like a 60% chance of success. So because they know all these stats of like success rates, they're less, you can ask for multiples. You have to sign off and say there's increased chance that you get pregnant, but there's also higher risk of, twins or multiples.
Mhm.
But because they have it down to so much of a science now, they're not as like, let's just put them all in. They're kind of like, hey, here's a really good embryo.
Mhm.
You have a really good chance with this embryo. Let's just implant this and see what happens.
Okay. So they implant it. Do they keep the other one?
Yeah, they keep
they freeze
everything
it?
frozen. Yeah.
Okay. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's
And it's one of those things where it's like a language I didn't know when I started, and I slowly started to pick up and understand it. The longer you're in it and you're doing it, the more you're like, oh, that's what this means. But
Yeah.
I always I had a good friend that went through many rounds of IVF, and she always said, like, I've heard every story in the book. Like, I've heard of, you know, D-rated embryos becoming a kid. So you never know what's going to happen. There's always probabilities, but that doesn't mean it's completely, nothing's guaranteed. And also don't discard, and the doctors say this too. Don't just discard it because it has a lower grade. That could still be very much a viable embryo.
So they're testing it for Down syndrome and all that before
The
before
PGT is testing for, does it have 24 chromosomes, and are the chromosomes the right length and all that stuff. And so there's combo of reasons why they're doing that. Maybe some of it would be for Downs and things like that. But more importantly, PGT tested embryos have a higher likelihood of success. Many times miscarriages come from actual chromosomal deficiencies. So you're not eliminating your risk of miscarriage, but you're shaving off. You're basically just trying to improve your probabilities. So that's one of the biggest reasons why you do PGT testing, is because it increases the chance, if you have a euploid, increases the chance that would turn into a successful pregnancy.
Before we move on to your pregnancy, which I do want to talk
Yeah.
about, I want to back up a little bit because I'm sure there were a lot of emotions around this.
Yeah.
Both with you and your husband. So I'm curious, was your husband always like on board, or were there times when he's like, this sucks, I don't want to do this anymore? And you too. I mean, tell me what you two went through as a couple in this journey.
So
If you don't mind sharing. It's personal.
No, of course. I would say that he was always on board. He had very little to do.
Right. Well, we're not going to get graphic, but let's face it.
Let's face it, the brunt was on me, and totally fair, right? And also my job was more flexible. So he would work and I would just say, it's fine. I'll just go get all the tests. I'll just go get all this stuff because I had the more flexibility of my schedule.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier on him when we retrieved eggs, we implanted eggs, they failed. It was a lot harder on me than it was him. And we had some disconnects there. And I think it's because for him, it was so conceptual, but for me, it was in my body. All these things were happening to my body. All these times I'm constantly getting my blood drawn. I'm constantly in there getting ultrasounds. And so it just becomes more real, I think, for the woman than the man. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that was a disconnect for us because he was very confused. He's like, why are you getting so upset, or why are you like this? And I'm like, how are you not understanding? So we just weren't seeing eye to eye. And I think when he started to realize, like, oh, this is happening, versus him conceptually being like, I want to have a kid and it'll happen when it happens. It's like, this is happening to her body. She's feeling her body, back to that shame, feeling my body fail again, feeling like that hope is high, and you're taking all the shots, you're doing all the things. And then okay, everything stops again. I think there's definitely, for any couple, it should be an understanding that you're just like pregnancy and just like postpartum, you're going to have different journeys between
Oh,
you and your husband.
right. Yeah, you can't not. I mean, physically, you can't not.
Exactly.
Right.
It's impossible. And
Yeah.
so I would say IVF is very similar. It's just a lot of onus was on me. I would say, one thing I really appreciate is at the end when we went to do ultimately successful transfer, he came to me with me to one of my appointments. And I had it had been like 2 years of going to these appointments over and over again. And my coping mechanism is maybe avoidance and like apathy. Like I just start to shut down a little bit. And so he was there and it went fine, but he was like, why didn't you ask this question? Why didn't you do this? Like, I don't understand. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, I want to keep going, but like, I can't be that person anymore. It's too much. And so he was like, okay, I'm taking over and I'm coming to every appointment. We're going to make sure that these questions are answered. And I was like, great. Thank you so much.
Oh, good.
Because
So what part couldn't you do anymore?
I just couldn't, it sounds so, and I think this is another thing where guilt or shame comes up is it's like, it sounds so silly. Like, what am I doing? And taking time drugs. I mean, it's a lot, like, 4 times a day, you're taking X number of pills and they're timed. You're taking shots every night. So, but objectively, how hard is it to take a pill? Right. So there was part of me that's like, Christina, this isn't that hard. But I think it was just the mental load of constantly having to think about it all the time and be like, oh, did I take these 3 pills right today? And shoot, I didn't take them yet. I need to take them now. And then I need to take these 6 hours later. And just the mental load of it all just really got to me.
And
the longer I was
real.
in it.
It's not about the pills or having to take them. It's not about that. It's that mental load is real.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break for that because yeah.
But it's like tough.
Oh my gosh.
It's like objectively, what are you doing? You're taking some pills, but yeah, it really started to add up for me. And it took me a minute to realize like, that's okay. It's okay that it was hard.
Yeah. And now it's been worth it.
Oh yeah.
So you said you're 30 weeks along already?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So tell me, okay, so now you go back, is it surgery now that do you have to be put under for them to?
For the implantation, it's very simple. You're not put under. Your spouse or partner can be in the room. The hardest part is that your bladder has to be full.
Why is that?
Because it helps guide the catheter straight into the uterus.
Okay. Interesting.
So that's actually the hardest
part. It doesn't go to the wrong spot. Okay.
Is how much you have to pee.
As they're putting pressure on to put it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks. Yeah. Okay. I hadn't thought about that. That's interesting.
That's definitely the hardest part.
So they're putting it in through a catheter.
They're putting it in through a catheter.
Okay.
Right into the uterus. It's generally 10, 15-minute procedure. Okay. Very quick. The doctor will be there.
Painful? Not painful.
Not painful.
Okay.
The doctor's there. The doctor's the one that does it. There's also a lab technician, probably also a doctor, but they specialize in the embryo. They bring the embryo out. They test. They make sure all the things with the embryo are good. Doctor via catheter implants it. They check to make sure it actually implanted. And then they're like, okay, you're done. See you later. And you find out 10 days later.
How are they able to verify that it's implanted through an ultrasound?
No, so they take the catheter and make sure the embryo's not still in.
Okay.
So they'll take the catheter, bring it back to the lab, and make sure that there's no embryo left in the catheter. That's how they ensure it's implanted. And it's kind of crazy when it does implant. There's like a flash of light because there's an ultrasound machine, so you can see it.
Yeah.
And there's like a little flash of light that happens. Kind of cool.
So you go back 10 weeks later, 10 days later, to see if it's taken?
Yeah, for a blood test, essentially.
Okay.
Many women decide to take a pregnancy test before then. I think probably like 6 days after transfer, you can start to see a line. I was not one of those people. I was like, I'll just wait.
Yeah.
I'll just wait. It's, I was actually more nervous about a false positive and feeling like.
Yeah. That makes sense. Having hope and then realizing.
It didn't. So
it failed. Yeah. So are you having, again, not to be personal, but are you having your period through all of this, or because you're on these drugs, it stopped that?
No, you have your period.
You have through the whole time. So you're actually pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's a normal cycle. And that's the other thing with IVF is it's very tied to your cycle. So if your period's 2 or 3 days late, you're going to start your next round of treatment 2 or 3 days later.
Well, yeah. And for me, I don't know about you, but I was not, still am not overly a planner. And so for me to have to kind of pivot and do a little mind shift of, I have to track everything. I never knew when my period was coming when I was younger. I'm like, yeah. Whatever, it's here, or I've got to. If I was on the pill when I was on the pill,
Yeah,
I was
totally.
like, okay, that would keep me regular, whatever. But when I went through the IVF and was, I didn't go through all the way to IVF. I went to the Clomid and then I did the shots. But what happened in my experience was, now it must have been before they had the test you mentioned to clean out the fallopian tubes.
Yeah.
Because what was discovered, I can't remember if it was discovered through an ultrasound. It must have been. So I had a cyst on my ovaries that was blocking my ovary.
Yeah.
So I guess every other month the egg could
drop. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So I ended up, but it was found after I think I had like 6 rounds of Clomid. And so what they said is they didn't know if the Clomid caused the cyst or if the cyst was already there and it grew because of the Clomid.
Right.
So, and it turned out that I had stage 3 cervical cancer. I don't know if that had anything to do with this. I'm trying to remember the whole time of it. But
oh my gosh.
So they had to take out part of my cervix during all of this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so they laparoscopy, or whatever the word is, took out the cyst.
Okay.
The very next month I got pregnant naturally, but I had been doing the shots and everything, but I got pregnant and it obviously went to term. The cervical cancer piece of it, they had to, when I got pregnant, they had to just go in and stitch up my cervix.
Really?
Yeah, just because it wasn't strong enough to hold the baby.
Wow.
So they had to stitch it and strengthen the cervix. Even with that, my son came 5 weeks early.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were a lot of things that happened in my pregnancy.
It must have been so scary for you.
It wasn't scary because I'm kind of like you. It wasn't scary, but it was that whole, like, you really have to pay attention, right? And I remember there was a lot of times when you feel really depressed.
Yeah.
When you're going through. But I was so excited to have a child that I think that offset some of the depression because I so wanted to meet this little person that was growing inside of me.
Fair.
Like every time there was a hiccup, I just thought it was the best thing. Do you get those little, can you tell? The kicks when your belly, there's nothing cool.
Definitely just kicked right now.
Did he or she?
He or she, yeah.
Oh my gosh. See, that's like my favorite. I remember the little flutters you'd get in your belly and you'll be like, wow, that is so cool. Like a little person is growing inside of my belly, right?
It's crazy.
Isn't it the best?
It's so crazy. It's so cool.
It is so cool. And so anyway, and I think that, once that all started happening, even though you're like, okay, I had to do all this work leading up to it and it wasn't fun, the joy of just, yeah. And then when he finally came, I mean, it was just nothing like it. There's nothing better. So, and my daughter was completely opposite. So she was breech.
Oh, geez.
And funny, you're going to like this story. My ex-husband doesn't. So my daughter knows this, so I can tell the story. We didn't plan on having a second child, and I was on birth control, but again, I don't even remember taking my vitamins in the morning. So I kind of was like, thought I'd taken the pill, hadn't taken it for a few days, and honestly didn't think I could get pregnant without help, right? Because that was my experience first time around. Well, anyway, surprise, I got pregnant. And my ex-husband was not all too happy about it. So she was a bonus child and a lovely surprise. But anyway,
the best surprise.
She's my best friend. But that being said, that pregnancy was so different because she was breech and I am terrified of needles. Like I had an all natural childbirth.
Okay.
I did not have an epidural. I was like, no, absolutely not. I will suffer the pain. So Sam, my son, born completely natural, 5 weeks early. And my daughter was breech. And the doctor, I'm going to just show you because I have to do a visual. So listeners, you have to imagine me on top of Christina's belly. And the doctor's name is Dr. Sunshine. Is that the best?
That's great.
Dr. Sunshine climbs on top of the gurney and on top of me. And he's trying to push my stomach to make the baby flip. which I guess if it had happened would have been incredibly painful, but I did not know that. So he's pushing and pushing and pushing and she is not budging. And I'm like, don't stop. You need to turn her. I do not want to have a C-section. He's like, I can't. I will hurt you. So anyway, my daughter was born
C-section. Yeah, I was going to say
she got her way.
Pretty C-section.
She always gets her way. Yeah.
Well,
so I was like, she was stubborn from the get-go.
Yeah. You know, they are who they are.
They are who they are, little brat. So now I have this scar from her. But anyway, so how has your pregnancy been in the last?
I've honestly had considering how hard it was to get pregnant, I've been really blessed because I've had a very easy pregnancy. First trimester was, for me, the biggest symptom was fatigue, sleeping a lot.
Yeah, that's normal.
And I already suffer from migraines, but I had quite a few migraines, which were rough because you can't take anything for them. So a lot of dark rooms, a lot of naps, but I didn't have a lot of morning sickness or things like that. IVF, one of the most common side effects of IVF is that you'll have uterine bleeds, which I did have from the implantations. For me, as you know, I'm a yoga instructor and I couldn't work out for almost my entire first trimester, which was a little tough for me because I like to move my body.
Could you move anyway? Could you go for a walk?
I could go for a walk, but that's about it. And I still taught, but I wouldn't demo anything. So I'd just be standing there kind of thing in the room. I wasn't even allowed to do yoga, which I was like, what do you mean? It was rough. Yeah. So but then since then, second trimester, and now I'm into my third, has just been relatively very, very easy for me. I'm very tall. So I didn't pop until maybe 3 weeks ago. These are still all my normal, these are pregnancy jeans, but everything else is still all my normal clothes. I haven't had to buy anything new yet. First, I thought I was going to get this cute little wardrobe.
I'm glad you did.
But yeah, now that it's getting closer and closer, I'm like, okay, we're just going to Amazon, if at some point the shirts finally stop fitting, we'll just go to Amazon.
I have to tell you, I'm a little jealous because one of the best parts about being pregnant when you're living in Florida is you could just wear loose dresses and not even it doesn't even matter. For me, I was pregnant through the winter for my first one. And yeah, you have to buy the
yeah. So, and I, as soon as I got cleared by my doctor to work out, went right back to it. And
that's good.
Yeah. Everyone's always like, how are you still doing this? I'm like, well, I'm going to do it until I can't. So
well, it's good for you and the baby. Yeah. Mentally.
Yeah. I enjoy it. And I think one of the nice things about being a yoga instructor and through this whole thing too, especially with working out, is that you just get to know your body really well too. So if something doesn't feel good, I just stop. Or, there's a lot of, you can't be in a hot room, but if it feels too hot, I'll step outside.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of these things of what was your body used to? I did hot yoga all the time before I was pregnant. It's going to be fine once I'm pregnant.
So you're a first time mom. Is there anything that surprised you about this so far?
About that?
Other than how hard it was to get pregnant initially?
Obviously, yeah, that surprised me. I think that's common for us women that we're that won't happen to us.
Yeah.
That surprised me. Trying to think honestly how easy it's been has somewhat surprised me, or I thought I would show so much earlier.
I know.
So that was a little surprising. I don't really have cravings. I'm kind of having a boring pregnancy.
Really, no cravings?
Yeah. Always had in my first trimester, I didn't have a sweet tooth, but then it came back. But I've always had a sweet tooth, so I'm kind of I don't know. It's no more or less than before I was pregnant.
Do you remember the first time you felt the baby kick?
Yeah. It took a while because I have an anterior placenta.
Okay.
It was probably around 23 or 24 weeks until I felt it. And I was like, oh, I think that's what this is. And then me and my husband took an early baby moon because we wanted to go to Europe. And that day we landed, you land at 8 a.m. We had a whole thing. And so it was 4 p.m. and we start going for a nap. And that's the first time I'm really feeling it. It was angry at me. I was throwing punches. And I was like, you're there.
We're talking about you.
You didn't love the flight and then the car ride. You're here.
That's hilarious. That is so
It's so funny. And then I don't know about you, but you feel it and you're like, honey, come. And then he puts his hand and it's
And
like
stops.
stops every time.
Right.
But, which also makes it like a special part of like your experience as a pregnancy. Like, this baby's really living within you and you can feel that.
I know it's literally a part of you. Right?
It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. What's a baby moon?
What's baby moon? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a new term for me.
That's many couples before the babies due will take a trip together. And so I think it's off of the honeymoon type thing, but now called a baby moon. We took ours, like I said, a little earlier because we wanted to go abroad and I didn't want to be too pregnant traveling that far. But yeah, a lot of couples will take like a long weekend or a week off together before the baby's due to have like that connection time.
I love it.
Being big, me and my husband being big travelers, like,
any excuse to travel.
Oh yeah, like
whatever.
We had no registry, no anything, like nothing done. But we were like, okay, we're booking this trip to Spain.
This sounds like an Instagram thing. Baby moon. It's like proposals.
Well, the other thing, true. Well, did you have push presents? Because that's the other really common thing for our generation.
No, what's a push present?
It's like your husband gets you something really nice because he
should. Well, absolutely, he should.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of women get like ring upgrades, or
did you get a push present?
No, I don't think one's coming for me, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. No, honestly, I guess I would consider some of my push present. I'm taking 6 months maternity leave. So my husband's really covering a lot. Yeah. I've been saving, but I run my own business. So yeah, it's very much on me when I'm off. And so,
well, that's great though, that you have 6 months to
exactly
your child.
That's so I think that for me is a higher priority than a new bag. Although, honey, if you're listening, I wouldn't mind it.
Which one do you want? Let's put it right out there. Do we want a Louis? Do we want an Hermes? Do we want to be swanky? Let's stay local and get a be swanky. Any of the above.
Whatever you want to get.
Oh my God.
Go get something from Target.
Yeah, exactly. Get you a Target bag. Here you go. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I can't believe you did. So my cravings were different with both of my kids.
Were they?
Yeah, with Sam, I wanted salt. Anything salty. I couldn't get enough McDonald's French fries.
Yum.
That was my thing. Like,
I do not for boys.
I don't eat fast food, and I loved McDonald's French fries. With my daughter, it was all citrus.
Citrus.
All I wanted was oranges constantly, or orange juice. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I don't think, and now I think she's allergic to. She is. She goes, Mom, I have an allergy to pineapples and fruit. That's probably because I eat so much of it. You would have thought it was the opposite.
I was going to say, you'd think it was the opposite.
Yeah, but no, she's allergic to fruit now. Oh my gosh. So what are you most looking forward to? And how are you going to have your childbirth? Are you going to have it in the hospital? Are you going to have a home birth? What are you
We're going to do it in the hospital, but we have a midwife, kind of like this hybrid of how natural can we be? But then to your point with your daughter, if something happens,
you want to be there.
We're there, and things can, and there's a safe environment around. So we'll be at a hospital. It's going to be, hopefully, because everything's going to go well, delivered via midwife. And what am I looking forward to most? I don't know. Just like, I don't even know. It's like kind of hard for me to even conceptualize what life will look like post baby. I know it's going to be amazing, and I know I want it because I did all this work for it, but I have a really hard time even like thinking about it because it's going to be so different. Yeah. And so instead I kind of remind myself of like yoga principles of like, there's impermanence in life and like you're adaptable to change, because I'm very change resistant and I know my entire life's about to change. And I'm like,
it's about to change.
And of course it's going to change for the better.
Yeah. Such a great way.
But my therapist about this before when I was deciding, or me and my husband were deciding, do we want kids? And we're going through all this whole list of stuff. And she's like, here's the thing. It's so easy to see. It's hard to take care of them. It's all that. She's like, I can't even describe to you the benefits because they're indescribable.
It's true.
And
you just gave me chills. It is so true.
Yeah.
And you don't get the rewards until much later in life. There'll be little glimpses along the way. But I was like, every age had its challenges and every age had its rewards. So there was always, because they're transitioning too and trying to figure out who they are.
They're trying to figure their own stuff out. Yeah. And, I think one thing I'm grateful for is that this baby's going to get raised in a household that, me and my husband are more spiritual. We're more willing to let go of control and roll with the punches and, kind of prioritize peace and simplicity overall. And I think if I got pregnant in my 20s, that would be a very different, very different environment that it grew up in. And so hopefully it's a nice, loving, and, no matter what, it's a loving environment for them, but a peaceful environment for them to grow up in. And, my husband's really good at keeping perspective. So when I get all anxious, he'll just be like, okay, time to back off.
That's good that you have that balance.
Yeah.
Do you have names picked out?
We have
I won't
some
put you on the
names.
spot.
No, it's okay. Well, we don't even know the gender, so it's
Right.
like we don't know names. Yeah, we have a few names. Nothing final.
Yeah.
But some contenders in both. Also, because like I'm all for those people that know that what they want. Great, you do you. But like, I kind of want to feel the baby. Like, maybe I think it's this, but then it's in my arms and I'm just like, well, you're not that. Like, you're this. So.
I love that because my son was always Samuel. He was always going to be Sam. I don't know why, but he just was.
You just knew it.
And my daughter was Emily until the day she was born. I don't think she had a name for 2 days. And then she's Haley now. She's not Emily. She never would have been an Emily, but we also had Lindsay, but Emily, I think, is what she was going to end up with. And we looked at her. Yeah, same thing. I mean, we kind of got to know her and I'm like, no, she's Haley.
Yeah. So I want to give myself permission to feel it out.
I love that.
So there's like contenders, there's like names popped up. We've been, March Madness is coming up. And so we're trying to do like a March Madness bracket of the names.
Yeah.
Just to make it kind of gamification, make it fun. But yeah, I think the goal is to enter with like 3 boy names, 3 girl names, and then just kind of feel it out when we get there.
I like it. Well, you can't look at who's betting now because.
Well, I mean, already everything is.
You're already betting on everything.
No, I mean, already people are betting on due dates and gender. Exactly. So they got plenty to bet
on. So did you, well, no, because you're not doing a gender reveal. So I was like, because the gender reveal party's a thing too, right?
Yeah, that is a thing.
Yeah.
No,
you're not doing that.
We're not doing it. Yeah.
I like that you're keeping that kind of quiet and
it was not
a surprise.
I never thought that would be what I would want to do. I don't know if my husband had lots of thoughts beforehand, but I think because of the IVF journey, because so much of
it's planned.
It's so planned and so scientific and so precise. It was like, why don't we just keep a little mystery?
I love I love that.
This moment of mystery in the whole process.
All right. So what advice would you give other couples that are going through a similar journey?
So I would say that give yourself a lot of grace. We were talking about you were giving me a lot of grace, and it's emotionally, especially for the woman, very hard. And I had so many people that were really supportive and they meant the best. And they always were like, it will happen. And I never had this doubt that it wasn't going to happen. I always was like, it'll happen. It's just a matter of time. But when you're going through it, it's hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel. And that's okay to just be upset about it and be sad about it and give yourself the grace to have all of the emotions. And then also with IVF, it's okay to take a break. Like it's okay to take a couple months off and then come back. No one's it's not gonna stop your place in line. Like nothing's gonna happen, outside of your continuing to age, there's nothing happening. It's okay if you need to take a break to go back. And then from some more practical stuff, I really liked this book called It Starts with the Egg. And it really describes the whole fertility process. And it gives you some, vitamins and diet and things that you can do as a person. IVF can feel really outside of your control. So it's nice to have something where you can feel a little bit like, oh, okay, well, I can do this.
Yeah.
Maybe I can't do everything, but I can do this. So I really like that book. And for me personally, one of, I think, my biggest reasons for success was I went on a very strict diet called the autoimmune protocol diet.
I haven't heard of this.
It's Whole30, but more restrictive.
Okay.
So it's not for everyone by all means. And not everyone has the same, would maybe need this at all. But for me, it's an anti-inflammatory diet. And I started it probably 2 months before my first round. And so then it was probably 7 months or so by the time my second round came about. And the reason why I think it was really helpful for me, one, my numbers got significantly better across the board. I was always had good numbers, but there was like a couple where they're like, this isn't great. It's not bad, but it's not great. And all of a sudden they were like, every number is perfect. And then also, when I said I had a really high ratio of quality egg too, I think it was because
Give me an example of what the diet looks like. What would
what
be
would
a
I eat?
typical? Yeah, what did you give up?
Oh, I gave up like everything. So
sugar,
dairy, gluten, legumes, seeds.
Really?
Yeah. Nightshades, so peppers, tomatoes, potatoes. Yeah. Like it's such a long list of things you can't eat. You have to start focusing on what you can
Okay,
eat.
so what you can eat.
I had a
Fish?
lot of protein. Yeah. So
Okay.
steak, chicken, fish, sweet potatoes instead of regular potatoes. Yeah. Sweet potatoes are great for you.
Yeah.
So that would be my typical carb because you're not really allowed rice, even though it's gluten free. So sweet potatoes,
Dark green vegetables, I'm assuming.
yeah, you can have most vegetables. You can have most fruit.
Okay.
So it's just like a very, and like anything, you can make it unhealthy in some ways too sometimes. But yeah, it's pretty like simplistic diet. And I found the things that I liked. My husband would make me soup every week. So I'd have like a soup that I could have for lunch. I'd have sweet potato. We'd bake sweet potato fries all the time. So I'd have something to snack on.
Yum.
And
so was this recommended by your doctor, or is this just something you researched and came upon yourself?
it was something, I had a friend who had done multiple rounds of IVF and I said, well, what would you suggest? And she said, I didn't do this because this is very extreme, but you can look into it. And I looked into it and I was like,
is there a specific name or just called the autoimmune diet?
It's called the autoimmune protocol. So AIP for short, if people want to look it up. And if you suffer from migraines, if you feel like you have any inflammation in your body, it can be a really great diet for you. So I started it thinking I'll just do it until I did the retrieval, because one of the other fun facts about your eggs is that what you eat today is impacting the eggs you deliver 4 months from now. Men have a very quick turnaround, but women, it's very long turnaround of like, if you want to start taking any sort of vitamin, it's not really going to be impacting your eggs for months.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'll take it and then I'll stop at egg retrieval. And I didn't because my migraines got so much better. My migraines pretty much went away. And that's what kept me with the diet.
Until still following that diet?
Well, pregnancy has changed. But when I'm done probably breastfeeding, I'll go back.
Yeah. So do you drink coffee?
I was never a coffee drinker.
Okay, so no coffee. What was the other one I was going to ask you about? What was the alcohol?
I mean, during the IVF process, I drank, but I'm not a big drinker. So
either, yeah.
Once a month.
Yeah.
Maybe a glass of wine, 2 glasses of wine at max.
I'm not a big drinker either, and didn't drink at all during my pregnancy.
Yeah. I mean, so
I didn't even dye my hair during my pregnancy.
Oh, I'm going to be doing that.
Yeah. I did not even do that. I was so strict when I was pregnant.
I'm like, how bad could it be?
Oh my God. When I look at pictures of me when I had each of my kids, I chopped my hair off super short.
You did?
Yeah, because it was, do you remember? You probably don't because you're younger. The Dorothy Hamill cut.
Yeah.
Like that bowl cut. That's what I had for each of my kids. And it was like dark brown because, my hair was, anyway.
Yeah.
And I was out to here. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely have my hair getting done in a couple weeks.
So that's happening.
But yeah, I mean, but also like you can drink coffee, like,
Yeah.
If you want.
I'm a coffee drinker. But when I had my kids, I gave it up because not so much because of the caffeine, because the way I used to drink coffee 30 years ago was cream and 2 sugars. And I would drink it several times a day. And I'm like, the amount of sugar I'm drinking just in my coffee, like I didn't have to have any other sugar all day, but I was having so much. Like I don't like candy. I'm not really a sweets person, but that's how I would drink my coffee. And so because I thought I can't drink it black, I'm going to have, I'm going to give up coffee altogether. But anyway, so advice would be just kind of be patient with yourself. Give yourself
lots of grace, and that it does take longer than you want. I think I've talked to so many, also that you'd be surprised how many people go through IVF. First of all, it's much more common in our day and age. And I had a lot of friends that I had no idea that's how they got pregnant until I mentioned, hey, I'm doing this. And then they were like, oh, I did that. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? So
that's what I love about this conversation. I do think it's important to share this information and to kind of normalize it because women don't talk about it. And it is it's a struggle because for me too, I want to add to what you've said. It's like also give yourself permission to grieve
Yeah.
because every time you do a cycle and it doesn't take, there's a grieving process that has to happen. At least there was for me.
Yeah.
Not just for shame, but just because you're like, man, I really thought it was going to happen this time.
And like, it's still an embryo. Like that embryo was loved. Like that, that
Exactly.
there was so much love that went into it. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay that it's
Well, even before, I remember even when I didn't have a viable embryo,
right.
and just being hopeful that this month would be the month that I was
Totally.
pregnant, right? Just that whole and be like, oh damn, just a couple days late on my period, but I'm not pregnant.
Yeah.
So I remember being pretty, really struggling with that because I wanted it so badly, right? And you're trying so hard to do all the right things.
Yeah. It's like, goes from being like it'll happen to like
it's
your
never
whole
gonna
life.
happen.
I
know.
It's never gonna happen. Your whole life focuses on it, and you're like excited and nervous every time it's that time of the month.
I remember. I mean, I remember
it's like there's so much hope, and then there's so much. Oh my god! But bracing.
My first husband being really disappointed those months when I wasn't, and I would be so sad, and then finally the month that I was, he knew I was in the bathroom taking the pregnancy test, and he almost didn't want to be there when I came out because he didn't want to see the disappointment, right? And so finally I came out, and it was actually on Labor Day, which is the funniest thing. It was on Labor Day, and I was like, we're pregnant. So that was
how beautiful.
Yeah, it was exciting. So but I just want people to understand though when it's not happening. I mean, obviously there probably comes to a point when you might want to give up and maybe choose adoption or choose something else. Was that ever an option for you? Did you ever consider that?
For us, I mean, we were so lucky in the sense of like I had a relatively short process. Like I have a friend who her fertility process was quite extensive, and she was such an amazing support system to me. And part of it was because because it was so hard for her. I mean, multiple egg retrievals, multiple of everything took 5+ years. She was so good at, to your point, adoption's an option. Not having kids is an option. Continuing is an option. And this idea that like there's no such thing as a right or wrong answer. It's so personal to each person. And like whatever decision you make is the right decision.
Yeah. And that's a good point. And I think too that we have to keep telling ourselves that, like you said, whatever we decide is perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Meant to be. And the thing I love too about your story now is you have such a beautiful story to tell your child one day of how they came to be, because it's so beautiful how much you really wanted them and what you went through to give them life. I mean, imagine that. That's just, I love that story. And that's going to be, it's such a beautiful gift.
It's very wanted. Yeah.
It's very wanted, right? I mean, so when they're giving you a hard time, and
I'm going to remember that.
Just make sure you tell them, you little shit. Do you know what I went through to have you? Yeah. Because you're going to have those days too.
No, my kid's going to be an angel baby and
I hope so.
Never have those.
I hope. My kids gave me such a hard time at Walmart one day that I thought I was going to leave them there. Like, you can have them. I've got tears rolling down my cheeks.
Kids test your patience. That's for sure.
No, you can't have that stuffed animal. And we're getting out of here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they do test your patience, but all in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, it's just another cycle of life. Like literally, it's a new cycle of life. But I think like from adult perspective, both male and female, it's a rebirth for yourselves. So how often do we call it like you reparent yourself when you parent your child?
Yeah.
And, I think it's a new cycle of evolution for the adults just as much as it is this brand new, being coming into the world. And so it'll be interesting to see how that evolves.
Oh, I hope I get to meet your new child one day.
Well, we'll make a date.
I know. I'll have to bring them back when they finally arrive.
Soon. A couple months away.
I can't believe it. I know. What, 10 weeks?
Yeah.
10 weeks.
Yeah, probably less. Yeah.
Hey, it might be on my birthday. My birthday's March 18th.
I'm hoping a little later than that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It could easily be March 18th.
Yeah, no, it would have to be later. You're right.
I'm hoping it's a little later.
It should be a little later. You're right. It should be closer to April, shouldn't it?
Yeah. End of March, early April. Right. Yeah. But,
could come early. It's your first one.
Exactly. You never know.
Yeah. So it's up to them.
You were 5 weeks early. I know people that were
Yeah.
a month early.
Yeah.
I know people that were late.
I don't wish that for you. I hope they're not too premature.
No, fair.
We don't want them too premature. So
But-
don't come on my birthday is what I'm saying.
But regardless, it's all good. It's all
As
good.
long as you're healthy.
Yeah. That's a fun part about pregnancy too, when you reach viability. I think is like 26 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it only goes up from there. That's like a fun moment when you're like, okay, I mean, not everything's perfect, but you're like, okay, most likely you're going to survive.
Oh yeah.
Realization in my mind of like, oh, you are real. You're going to come.
You are real and you're going to come and I better have a bed for you to sleep in. And yeah, be ready for my sleepiness. Get plenty of sleep now because you will go through, as you know.
The fatigue's starting to kick up again in the 3rd trimester. So I've been taking lots of naps.
Take lots of naps. Yeah. Put it in the bank. Hopefully your husband is going to be a great support.
I'm sure he will be. And we're gonna do a night nurse, not for every night, but at least 2 nights a week just to give a little bit of breathing room. But yeah, he like also gets up. He's totally fine getting up at like 5 a.m. So I think our plan is I'll take nights, but then he'll take like 4:30 to 10, and I can sleep then. So
I am so excited for you, Christina.
Thank you.
So excited for this
That'll be great.
chapter, and I'm so happy that this worked out for you. And yeah.
you.
So exciting. So anyway, we have to close and thank you again for listening to this episode of Joy of the Hang. If you liked it, follow us on Spotify and Apple and watch us on YouTube. And thank you for coming again.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you back. And I'm looking forward to your next chapter.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.